What's that?
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to upstage you.
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
I'm sorry.
That record button's on.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of upstaging. We saw a play last night. I don't know if you have seen. We saw How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
They have a play for that?
Yes.
I was also at a play last night.
Yeah?
Yeah. Christmas Carol. I had to remember the real name of it. I was like, that Ebenezer Scrooge one.
Yeah.
Because that's why you go.
Yeah. To see him do the flip.
Yeah, Hal Landon Jr. That's the guy's name.
That's his name.
Yep.
I had never seuss this play before. Apparently it's a thing they do in San Diego.
Is it based on the book or the movie?
Dr. Seuss's wife is involved, so I'm going to guess the book, but I don't know.
Dr. Seuss's... Well, that's like beyond both.
She's one of the big donors to that theater, I guess. They generally do Shakespeare stuff, but they do some of these things around Christmas time.
That's cool.
Anyway, it's all very Seuss-like. The makeup is really crazy.
Very Seussian.
Yeah, the Grinch is obviously upstaging everyone all the time, and when someone like finally steps in front of him to like sing a song or whatever, he pushes them out of his light. He's like, "Hey, get out of my light!"
Nice.
So yeah.
Do they use a green light on him, or is it?
There are green lights sometimes,
yeah.
But he has a bunch of green makeup and stuff in a giant costume. So
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway,
that sounds awesome.
It was pretty fun.
Cool. We're on a little echoey microphone because we're together.
Yay! In-person recording.
Mm-hmm. Welcome to Orange County.
Yeah, thanks. It's good to be here on the day of our team's playoffs in football, fantasy football.
Should be an interesting first round.
Not for me, because I have a bye, so I'm not playing.
Well, you can stand outside and enjoy the wind.
Yeah, it didn't seem too windy earlier today. We'll see, I guess. But yeah, it's, we're here. There should be some other members of the Fantasy Football League showing up.
Man, I hope so. We bought eggs and bacon for 100 people, so...
Okay, well, it'll be bad if no one else shows up.
Yeah, that'd be good. So, because we have a football party and stuff, I think we're going to do a short pod.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
A quick pod.
Yeah. A brief...
Brief pod.
Yeah.
Are we naming the pod by trying to come up with short terms?
No.
No?
Okay. We were for a second, but I think...
The pod's just going to be named Bravely Default, finally.
Okay. Andrew, did you finally get through that game? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
So the last boss has, I assume, 5 stages. And I made it through the first 4, and it took like an hour. Sorry.
Dog gonna dog.
Dog gonna dog. It's a long fight.
Uh-huh.
Very long.
It's a final boss.
But it's very long.
Okay.
And there's no breaks. I don't have a problem with like my health or anything like that. I just wanted to save. Because I got to the 5th stage of the boss. And like he just triggered a spell and wiped me. After like an hour-long
thing.
Now, the next time I try it, I don't have to do the cutscenes.
Right, you can just mash through.
Yeah, you can hit skip or whatever. Especially the really long one. I thought that was cool. Spoiler alert for Bravely Default.
Yeah, I guess. Spoiler alert for like a 7-year-old game.
Is it really that old?
It's pretty old.
Yeah. So, there's that cool little scene with all the planets. And everybody has their little, like, save your planet moment.
Right,
And then they shoot the power or whatever at the guy. And that takes, like, a long time. It's like 10 minutes of cutscenes in there.
Yeah.
Easily. But the fight's still not short. Anyway, he wiped me. That was my attempt to beat it last night. Well, I'm standing in front of him waiting to beat it today. But I think I have enough to really just talk about it. Because it's been too long.
All right.
And I don't know. I honestly got so frustrated. I don't know that I'll pick it back up again.
You've seen all the revelations at this point, though.
Yeah. I know everything that's happened or whatever.
Okay.
But it does not feel good to wipe, knowing you're pretty close to the end, and then be like, "Cool, all over again, the whole thing."
Yeah, it's a bummer for sure.
But a lot of stuff like that is like that in that game, right? Obviously.
Yep.
You're supposed to wipe a lot. Did you... So, I've talked about Bravely Default in a second. Did you do the final... There's like a dungeon called the Dimension Hasp?
I don't think I went through a lot of that. I know it's like one of those, like, not endless, but like...
Yeah, it's like
grind zones where you can just kind of go in there.
It's like here's an in-game grind that you can go do, kind of like a Diablo thing, like when they do the different levels inside the rifts.
Yeah,
there's a lot of treasure in there.
Yeah,
you should have done that.
I should have done that. Okay,
there's some really good weapons, but I actually pretty much did everything in the game. I did stop doing the blues after I found the final job, which is Conjurer. I don't know if you got that one or if you gave up on doing that. Because it was after Vampire, which was the guy in the castle that you had to beat the dragons.
Yeah.
So then the Sage is actually a job too, called Conjurer.
I don't think I did that then, because I never did the Vampire one. And then if there was stuff that came after that, I definitely didn't.
That's my dog drinking in the background.
Okay.
In case people can hear it. So that's cool, but it gets to one of my complaints about the game too, and we'll talk about it in a second. But I think I pretty much did everything, like everything, and I still feel good about it, about having spent the time on it. The counter said I spent 70 hours, but knowing how many times I wiped on bosses,
yeah, I was going to say, and that doesn't include like time spent, like I spent an hour and then game over. That doesn't count to the playtime there.
No. So that's a long game.
It's probably like 100 hours or something, I'll guess.
No, of course. I mean, I don't spend 30 hours of lost time, but maybe 75 instead of 70.
Okay, that's still pretty significant.
Yeah, well, it's going to get more significant if I keep losing to this end boss. So we'll see if I move on to something else.
Sure.
But should we talk about the game a little bit? Because JRPG is what it is. It's very JRPG.
Yeah.
And it gets more JRPG as you go through it.
Uh-huh.
I liked that it was like a new system to take on the they take on the old system. Like, here's a bunch of job classes, but like at the same time, here's a bunch of different ways to play with them in combat.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about like there's SP and BP and... It was novel to me for 3/4 of the game. And then at a certain point, it was like, oh, I forgot to summon my friend that game, or I forgot to use my SP that game, or I forgot to do, or that mat. But, like when you lose a round, like you start to forget mechanics because like you get so into the class patterns you have. Like, this guy needs to do this guy needs to do this guy needs to do this. And then rinse, repeat, because that's the character that I built, and then there's no room for all these other things. Yeah, and I know SP is outside of that. It's like a free BP or whatever, but there's just so many things to remember. I wondered if it was the way JRPGs are.
I don't know.
With like Nier, what do you think?
No, I don't think all the games are like this. It's definitely a case where they came up with this system, and it works for this game, I think.
Okay.
I don't think, like, games as a whole really, like, are moving towards this system, or, it's just... It was something they tried because it has kind of, like, an old-school feel.
Cool feel, yeah.
But while still being kind of new.
Okay.
And it's cool that they tried it. And like I said, they made a sequel, and people seemed to like that, although I think the sequel had problems as well.
Detractors.
Yeah. Not nearly necessarily as... I think people liked the sequel a little better than the first game.
Yeah.
The issue in the first game generally being that like chapters 5 through 8 are complete hot trash. Yeah. And everyone...
Wow. They just recycle...
They straight up recycled the whole game.
They recycle the text from the game.
Yeah.
And you're like... I found out 3 chapters ago... Well, here, we can get into my predictions, but I found out 3 chapters ago this thing, and my characters are acting like nothing happened.
Yep.
What the heck?
Yeah, it's really bad.
It doesn't make any sense what the characters are doing at a certain point, but I think this is a good segue to my predictions, because we have to talk about them.
Yeah, so longtime listeners of the pod may remember that when Andrew started getting serious in this game, he wrote down some predictions thinking that he would be able to answer them in short order.
That was episode 6.
I didn't know it was that long ago. That's a little scary when you think about it that way.
We've talked about and played a lot of games since then.
That's true. That's true.
That was over a year ago.
Yikes.
That's not a good look.
Well,
I made 5 predictions.
okay. Let's hear him real quick.
Number 1, the fairy's evil.
Well, that turned out to be right.
Straight up got that one correct.
Check.
And you know what's funny? I didn't notice this until maybe like this week when I actually started losing in hard fights in the game. But the title screen changes.
Yes, it says Lying Airy.
Yeah,
Isn't
Airy.
that good?
It's Where the Fairy Flies was what the title was, and then it becomes Airy Lies.
Yeah.
I was like, dang.
Yeah.
Good job.
I
I think it's Atlas, right? That makes this, or maybe I don't remember. Oh, it's Squeenix.
I think it's a Square Enix game, yeah. That was actually a really cool thing, and actually it happens as soon as you find out
Okay.
the title screen
I didn't know that,
changes.
yeah.
If you had quit at that point and paid attention to the title screen, it would have been different.
Also, it's super legit that they in-game and in cutscenes and everywhere else do change the look on her wings. Because Ring a Bell says, like, hey, you know what? Her pattern looked like it had 3 on it, and then it had 2 on it, and then it had 1 on it. And at the end of the game, when you start to fight her, spoiler,
Yeah.
She has a big old 0.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my. Did she at one point have 10,000 little stripes on her wings? Because she said she linked 10,000 worlds together.
Yeah, who knows?
So that was also kind of strange. Like, you get into this, like, metaphysics of, like, oh, we have this cool JRPG and the crystals and worship it. Also, it's like a multi-dimensional time mind bender.
They like to go out in the weird metaphysics on the end.
Yeah,
in JRPGs in general. I think that
really
pretty
take
common.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, at one point in the final fight, like I said, you're like seeing other versions of yourself, and like there's still in other worlds 2 versions of Ring a Bell, which means like at some point your version of Ring a Bell. You can't think about it too hard, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, prediction 2 was Ring a Bell is Tiz's dad. Not
Not
accurate.
No. Straight up just not the case. They're just...
He in fact is like an
They're just-
adopted son of Brave the Templar or something like that.
Yeah.
But also is well, it goes into prediction 3, which is the Dark Knight is Adia's sister, which is not accurate either.
Nope.
The Dark Knight is Ring a Bell.
Yep.
So not even close to right.
I felt that reveal was kind of silly.
Yeah.
Because by the end of the game, you pretty
clear.
you pretty clearly know. But also, like, earlier in the game, they tried to handle it in a sensible way to, like, oh, he disappears from your party, and then you see the Dark Knight. But, like, I don't know. I feel like they didn't do a great job of always.
Yeah.
Because then you would see him, like, on an airship or something. And, of course, they don't say where that is. So, like, oh, the airship was flying right next to it. No one comments on it. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that as much.
You think that he was...
No, I think the reveal of it, like, their timelines for stuff don't necessarily work out.
Well, he's
that
from
great.
the previous world, right? So...
Oh, it's the other Ring a Bell, not the one from this world?
So
Is
the
that
Ring a Bell
difference?
in your party is the Ring a Bell from the previous world where he figured it all out. They fought Aerie and everybody died and he lost his memory.
Right.
And shows up. But then, like, also they do try to, like, make it seem like he's also the Dark Knight, but not, and all that sort of stuff. So it was strange.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was strange. 4. Well, I guess I only did 4 predictions, not 5. And Agnes is how they say it in the game. Agnes is how it's spelled.
Yeah.
Dies.
Yep.
True and not true.
Correct. That's both correct and false.
So that's interesting to end on, like a because JRPG moment.
Yeah.
True and not true.
Yep.
1800 years ago, I was right. And then during the game, I was wrong.
So, yeah, nice to finally put a little cap on that.
Yeah, that's good.
Discussion.
I think that overall I enjoyed my time with it. It sucks because you have to do the side quests until you find the Conjurer thing. My problem with the Conjurer, and I don't know because I didn't finish this off, but there are 2 question mark spots at the bottom. It's like play game, AR movie. Is it like New Game Plus?
I don't remember.
I don't know what's down there because I haven't beaten it. But like Vampire, you probably have enough time to get. And
I feel like there's probably a New Game Plus.
Well, you have enough time to get that and then level it up.
Mm-hmm.
But Conjurer is like chapter 7.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're just worn out. And like you've got your build done. And like leveling Conjurer to do something because he's powerful or maybe not. I don't know. It seems like an extra step on top of a job system. Like,
yeah,
I really feel like I want to play it again because I know what jobs I would want to do.
Mm.
And like
you would just be annoyed a bunch of the time because it'd be like, oh, I don't have access to this one until like three-quarters of the way through chapter 3 or whatever.
But I would know to stick with certain ones that I did have longer rather than changing off. Yeah, like I had to go back and re-level Red Mage again, and you know, like that sort of stuff. And I have 2 or 3 jobs on each character that I don't even use. And
yeah,
they tried to address that with like putting on the other characters that made your character stronger, like your friend thing,
right?
Linking ability,
linking up with people that are
which was cool.
Friends, but they had a lot of systems in there that I think were cool ideas, and I don't know that all of them really worked out.
They didn't all land as well as you thought.
Yeah.
Well, also there's hats in that game. Did you know that? Like
there are hats in that game?
There's hats in that game.
You can just like dress up?
Yeah. There's another little slot at the bottom that's like
more than just like when you change the jobs.
Yeah, you can like dress them up with stuff that stays on top so they always look the same.
Huh.
There's hats in that game. And in Japan there's more hats in that game.
I did not know that at all. I don't know that I ever did that or ever remember doing that whatsoever.
See what I mean? There's just all sorts of stuff where you're like, huh? And I did finally, remember in the final fights again, like, stop and sleep become very important late game. Like,
oh, yeah. Great.
You can't survive the bosses without stop.
A lot of them are really good. And the fact that, like, the status effects are useful against the bosses in a lot of cases is really helpful.
You have to find the one that works.
Yeah, sometimes.
Like, most of the time, like, they can't be poisoned, but sometimes they can be poisoned, and sometimes they can't be sleeped, but they can be poisoned,
or they can be stopped, or then sometimes you can't use stop, but you can use slow, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, well, there it is. I liked it. I think people would get their money's worth out of it if they're into JRPGs, but you got to be into JRPGs. It's not.
You got to be pretty into it. Yeah,
it's definitely a JRPG for fans of the genre.
Totally.
I understand why people downranked it a little bit. I think it's a great game overall, except oh god, the end. I got to take it back. It's not a great game.
I know
it's a very good game, but
there are a lot
game.
of people.
The end is awful.
There are a lot of people who said they really loved that game through Chapter 4. And
I even kind of liked it through Chapter 5.
They got to the repeating part, and then are just like, nope, and then just drop the game completely.
Yeah. If it had repeated once, Chapter 5, then had a bunch of cutscenes showing you repeating again, and then went to the end of the game would be way better.
I think everyone agrees. That's a very common sentiment across people that have played it.
Yeah,
including me.
It's really, really frustrating to be like, I know the fairy is lying. Why are we doing all these things over and over? And like,
yeah,
I get it. Like, I get what's happening.
Yeah,
this is silly.
Yeah,
that's too bad. Well, I don't know if they did that in the second game, but
I don't either.
I assume the second game is all related to time travel. And
no idea. Haven't played it.
Okay, fair enough. How's the Grand Tour?
Pretty good, man.
Okay. I haven't watched it yet.
That show is out. Amazon streaming for people that want to check it out. Yeah. They cover the Richard Hammond crash in the first episode.
Oh, great. Okay, good. That's good to know, and it gets me wanting to do it. I think it's time to start some hash browns for this party.
Okay.
That's like actual, I want to go cook hash browns.
He's going to go cook. Okay.
Yeah. But that's my Bravely Default mini review. It's not overly deep, but I think it's late in the life of that game to give it too much time.
Yeah. I'm glad you finally got to conclude something, Andrew, though. We promised Phil, check that box off.
We did it before 2018.
There you go.
We got a good positive thing out of 2017.
One good thing happened in 2017. Now,
a lot of good things are going to happen in 2018.
Yes.
A lot, especially for you.
Yeah, hopefully for more than just me, but also hopefully for me.
Yeah. All right. Let's go have a football party and see you next week.
Bye.